Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. It really is an honor to be able to share some Torah and do some learning with you tonight. Shabbat Shalom. So when I was in rabbinical school, I had a student pulpit in Redding, California. Rookie rabbis going off and being a rabbi in small congregations. This was like 2 hours north of Sacramento, only a couple hours away from the Oregon border. I traveled there once a month for 2 years, and I honestly loved every minute of it. It was a very small, very special, very rural congregation. And in my second year of this, a Chabad rabbi moved into town of Redding and invited me over to his home for Shabbat lunch, and it was lovely. We got into a huge fight over one of my favorite subjects in the Jewish tradition, which is questioning. Questioning, asking questions. I held that it was our duty, our Jewish duty, to question and interrogate every part of Jewish thought. Every idea, every letter, every story was on the table for cross-examination, even the existence of God. He, on the other hand, held that it was our duty, our Jewish duty, to question and interrogate every part of Jewish thought. Every idea, every letter, every story was on the table for cross-examination until the existence of God. Truly, I had thought that this was going to be a layup. The value of asking questions would be the thing to bring us together around the table before we really started to get to know each other. And it turned out to quickly escalate into a dramatic and heated debate. I remember citing Baruch Spinoza, the 17th century Portuguese Jewish Sephardic philosopher, famed for his early rationalist thinking, and made even more famous really for being excommunicated from his Jewish community for heresy. Spinoza questioned the existence of God and claimed that because the Torah was not written by God, rather by people, that it was fallible. And I did think that this was sound evidence to support my case, because it was Spinoza and his controversial line of questioning that would later be validated and inspire a generation of great Jewish thinkers in the Haskalah, the Jewish Enlightenment. And I thought that that line of questioning had to be worth something, right? My Orthodox colleague, among other references, called out to me D'oraita, meaning it's right there in the Torah, stupid. You can't question God's existence. We left our debate at an impasse, agreeing to disagree about the boundaries of asking questions. And only now, years later, digging into this week's Torah portion, I can honestly say that I'm starting to empathize with his position. Questions are at the core of Judaism, a critical feature. We should question everything. We should consider other ideas and ways of thinking, right? This, after all, is one of the key aspects that distinguishes Judaism from other faith traditions. Questioning keeps us honest, helps us grow, helps us explore and discover who we are and what we believe in. And this intergenerational game of questions and answers is a check and a balance, a safeguard against falsehoods and posers, right? Right? Judaism implores us to be curious, but is there a line? Are there curiosities that step over a sacred boundary? Look, I set before you on this day a blessing and a curse. Blessing if you obey the commandments of your God, and curse if you do not obey the commandments of your God, and or turn away from the path and follow other gods whom you have not experienced. This is the beginning of this week's Torah portion, Parshat Re'eh. And clearly there's a line that we're being warned against crossing. And it seems rather stark. There are blessings, there are curses, there are consequences. There is good and bad, there is right and wrong, and straying from this is literally a matter of life and death. And curses here are not just about disobedience, but veering away from God, from capital T, truth. Curse if you turn away from the path and follow other gods. And then this really interesting stipulation, gods whom you have not experienced. What does that mean? Is this an implication about my personal experience? If I had experiences with other gods, is my path different from your path? For me, I grew up in an interfaith home where the boundaries of inquiry and experience were not limited to the Jewish tradition. And questions were always encouraged, embraced, and explored. My mom grew up Jewish, and Dad would say he never deeply resonated with the Christianity he was raised on, but found more meaning in Buddhism, Taoism, and his Kung Fu practice, and ultimately Judaism also. And when I would ask my parents how they could possibly have ever gotten together when Mom was Jewish and Dad wasn't, they would say, well, because we were spiritually on the same page. There were mezuzahs on the doors, a glass case for Passover ware and other Judaica, and there were also Japanese art and kanji on the wall, a Buddha in the garden, a bonsai tree that lived on like one of the speakers in the living room for a long time. Dad even made a sand garden outside the porch, very zen. We celebrated Hanukkah and Christmas, Passover, but no Easter. For me, the experience of growing up in an interfaith home was a blessing, not a curse. My parents' modeling of mutual embrace, of the intellectual curiosity and ritual parts of who they were, created a spiritually healthy environment for me and my sister. And I would hold that my commitment to Judaism is made stronger on account of these other gods whom I experienced. I feel equipped with more access points, maybe, to understand Jewish wisdom, at least more permission to draw connections and insight from broader places. More ways to do it right, not more ways to get it wrong. Questions create. They create new circumstances. They create new choices. They create ways to create more love, and they even create more ways to make more harm, whether that's harm to others or even ourselves. And to this, I must say I have to at least partially concede to my Chabad friend in Reading. There's no refuting the argument that the Torah is asking us to keep our curiosity in check here, particularly around God, around the deep truths that make us who you are. And even if we're like Spinoza, more rational and not a deep God believer, there's a clear boundary, a clear teaching being raised here that says, don't peek too far around the corner. And to be fair, there is important and extensive wisdom for curiosity gatekeeping, regulating content, or our answers to questions is crucial, if not kind, depending on the circumstances. Maybe the age or experience of a child, or an adult, or even an elder. Even if and when that inquiry is innocent and honest. But what about when we direct our questioning inwards towards ourselves? We are, at this moment, about to be in the month of Elul, which kicks off the high holiday season, a month where we're supposed to set aside some real time each day to engage in self-evaluation, some reflection, to start asking some pointed questions about what we believe in and what you stand for. Cheshbon HaNefesh, a complete spiritual accounting to wake up to who we want to be in the world. Are there off-limit lines of inquiry here? Questions or a subject we're better off not asking for the sake of our well-being? Long before I met my beautiful wife, Stephanie, I was in a super unhealthy and toxic relationship for like 6 years. And I will never forget it when my friend sat me down and looked me straight in the face and asked me a hard question. Jeff, are you happy? And I said no. And I like to say without any sarcasm that my friend saved my life that night. And I was only 2 years into this 6-year saga, because at the time, I couldn't imagine any alternative to being in that relationship, or that world I'd set up for myself to look any different, to be in a world where the lines of questioning were limited. There were lines of questioning that I wouldn't let myself engage with, which kept me trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of being stuck between what I understood as right and wrong, what I understood as a blessing or a curse. After we split, I did the very Jewish thing and found a therapist who helped me reframe my black and white, right and wrong, all or nothing way of thinking. She said, what if you replaced the words, right and wrong, with healthy and unhealthy? It seems so obvious and plain to me now, but this recalibration completely changed my boundaries of self-inquiry in terms of what I was allowed or not allowed to examine inside of my own behavior, my own choices, my own algorithm for making decisions. Shifting this question of what was healthy and unhealthy, or what was wrong or right, was central, and it created new space. This question created new space for growth, new space for truth. Blessings and curses, I believe, are a similar tool. Blessings nourish and create space for gratitude and healing, and curses harm and create space for shame and resentment. My suggestion here is to resist a binary thinking and instead reach towards bravery and honesty and maybe even a little faith as you start your self-examination during Elul and find new priorities or maybe upgrade beliefs that will come to define you in this next year. And finally, a reminder that while this reflective inward thinking and questioning process is maybe private, that you're not in it alone. Judaism is about doing this with other people, to come together like this to pray and to think and to examine and learn. Ritual and community are also guideposts and safeguards that will keep us from falling into a cursed place or straying from the path of our own truth. Praying and discussing on this journey together is what will bring us closer to ourselves and a light that you want to share in the world. At the well, we have a Thursday morning for young adults, like 22 to 40-ish. We have a morning nourish from 8:30 to 9 in the morning every Thursday morning. And this has been our safe place, especially in this lead up to the high holidays, to share and create accountability, to become witnesses to each other's growth while learning and practicing mindfulness, especially during this time. So as we approach Shabbat, as we approach Elul on this Shabbat, may you use this season to embrace the questions on your heart, to remember that questions create, and through those questions may you discover some new inner wisdom to step into the next chapter of your life with open curiosity. Shabbat Shalom.